I've always been the family disappointment. While my sister Madison lived the golden child life, ballet lessons, private tutors, a surgeon husband, three perfect kids, and a house in the prestigious neighborhood, I chose art school over law school, moved across the country, and carved out a modest life as a freelance graphic designer in a tiny studio apartment with my rescue dog. When Grandpa died last spring, I couldn't make the funeral. I was in the middle of a major project, a deadline that would determine if I could pay rent next month. Mom's voicemail was icy. Of course, you're too busy. Madison was there. That's what family does? Christmas Eve, Mom insisted I come home. There was something in her voice that made me buy the ticket. The house was magazine perfect. Madison's family filled the living room, her kids showing off expensive gifts. I sat in the corner on the wobbly chair, holding a bottle of cheap wine from the gas station. After dinner, Dad pulled out a thick legal folder. We have something to share. Your grandfather left specific instructions. My stomach dropped. Madison sat up straight, her practice smile ready. Dad handed her a wax-sealed envelope. She opened it carefully and pulled out a deed. Her hands shook. The lake house. Oh my God, she said, tears streaming down her face. The room erupted in congratulations. The property was worth at least $350,000. Waterfront, with a private dock, where we had spent every summer growing up. Madison's husband was already on his phone calculating property taxes. Madison stood, visibly moved. I don't know what to say. Grandpa always knew how much I loved that place. Mom hugged her tightly. You deserve it, sweetheart. You were always there for him. Then Dad turned to me and handed me a thin envelope. This is for you, he said quietly. The room hushed. Inside was a letter on Grandpa's stationery. Dad said, he wanted you to read it aloud. I unfolded the letter slowly. My dear grandson, I began, Madison's smile frozen in anticipation. By now, Madison has the deed to the lake house. I'm sure she's very excited. Madison nodded, clutching the deed like a trophy. What she doesn't know, I continued, is that I sold that house 6 months before I died. The room froze. Madison's face paled. What? I sold it for $420,000 to a retired couple from Minnesota. The deed in Madison's hands is worthless. I faltered as tears stung my eyes. I did this intentionally. I needed to know who really cared. For 5 years, Madison visited exactly 4 times. Each visit coincided with a request for money. $15,000 for a kitchen remodel, $8,000 for private school tuition, $22,000 for a medical emergency that turned out to be elective plastic surgery. Mom's face went white. Meanwhile, my other grandson called me every Sunday, sent me terrible drawings from his art projects, flew home twice when I was sick, even though it cost him work. I never once asked for a dime. My voice cracked. Madison, you're holding the deed to a house I no longer own. Consider it a souvenir of the relationship you thought we had. Madison stood shaking. This isn't real. He wouldn't. Dad, tell me this is some sick joke. Dad didn't meet her eyes. I turned to the last page of the letter, addressed to me, the one with the rescue dog and the wobbly chair. I leave the remainder of my estate, approximately $740,000 in investments and savings, to you. Use it to buy your own studio, adopt more dogs, and maybe fix that chair. The executor of my estate is my attorney, Richard Chen. He has all the signed documentation. Your grandfather, who actually paid attention. I folded the letter. Silence filled the room. Madison's sharp breathing the only sound. You planned this, she hissed. You manipulated a dying old man. I didn't even know, I whispered. I just called him every week to talk. Her husband was furiously pulling up real estate records on his phone, confirming the sale. Madison had been clutching a worthless piece of paper, living her moment of victory, while I held $740,000 in inheritance. Mom began crying. He was confused, senile. We can contest this. Dad shook his head. Richard already warned me. The will is ironclad. Medical records prove full competence. Madison grabbed her coat. I'm done with this family. She gave me a look filled with pure hatred. I hope you choke on that money. They left, taking the useless deed with them. The room emptied fast. I sat alone in the wobbly chair, staring at Grandpa's letter. He'd seen everything, the fake smiles, the manipulations, every Sunday call I thought hadn't mattered. And he rewarded the one who truly did.